Hey, what's up guys? Justin here and welcome back to 65 Drums. Today we're comparing the Roland TD50 versus the Roland TD30. One flagship is from 2012 from Roland, and the next one is from 2016. If you want to go with Roland and you want to get the best of the best, these are the two drum modules you're going to be considering. But there's like a $1,000 price jump between them if you buy a used Roland TD30 versus a new TD50. So a lot of people want to know, is the TD50 actually worth that extra $1,000? What we're going to do is zero in on the differences between the kick sounds on both, the snare sounds on both, the hi-hat sounds on both, and then go through the menus and show you like what's the different editing options, how many sounds are inside both of these drum modules. So hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so now that you've heard both of them, you can tell that they sound vastly different from each other. I think the samples are much higher quality on the Roland TD50, but quality is different from whether or not you actually like those sounds. It has a certain personality that some people really like, some people really love the TD50 sounds, and other people just can't stand it for some reason. I feel like the sounds inside of the TD30 are a little bit warmer, and I just like the way they sound out of the box just a little bit more. But the TD50, I think the samples, the way they recorded it, it's a little bit higher quality, especially in the cymbal department. The ride cymbals are way richer. You only get two of them in the TD50, but they're way richer, and the way you can manipulate like the thickness and the pinginess and the color of the pinginess and all that stuff, just the cymbals sound way better in the TD50 in my opinion. As far as the snare drum and the kick drum and the toms, I think the Roland TD30 might actually have better sounding kick drums and snares and stuff, but it's really going to be up to you. So now we're going to jump over to the drum modules and take a look at the different menu options to show you more in depth what the differences are. Now at a distance, both the Roland TD30 and the TD50 look nearly identical, but when you're actually sitting down and using them from day to day, they are completely different beasts. There's a lot that's familiar though to me. You know, instrument buttons on both, there's ambience buttons on both, same number of faders. However, the Roland TD30 has a second row of options down here. If we press the fader button, it can do twice the amount of things that the TD50 can. But I never really use this row of actions down here, aux 1, 2, 3, 4, click pattern USB song, so that might be why they axed it. Also, you'll notice that this has knobs right here that you can actually change the colors of. This makes editing things a little bit quicker. So for example, if I tap the snare, I go to instrument, just right here, I can adjust the shell depth and I can adjust the head type. Over in the TD30, you can of course do those sorts of things, but it takes a tiny bit longer. So for example, I'd have to press F1 to get the shell, and if I wanted to adjust the beater type, I'd go down, and then I could use this knob right here. So moving through the menus is a little bit more fluid. One thing that you'll notice is that the screen on both of these is nearly identical. I think the screen on the Roland TD30 is just a fraction of a bit better, at least when I'm trying to record stuff on camera. I just feel like this one just comes up clearer on camera when I'm trying to edit this video and stuff like that. But they both suck. Let's be clear. These both suck. They should be color. They should be at least like this large. They should at least be the size of a smartphone. That way you can actually see what the heck's going on. Using the Pearl Mimic Pro has spoiled me, and even just using like an Elisa Strike, an $800 module, has a way better screen than both of these. So the Roland TD50 has a lot of little things that make it nicer to use than the TD30. So for example, right here, it has two headphone jacks, a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch. You don't need to worry about what kind of adapter that you have. Your headphone cable just works. There's also a mix in port right here that's 1/8 inch, and there's a 1/4 inch mix in port on the back. And so it just makes life easier. There are also XLR inputs on the back of this that are balanced, so you don't need a cable that goes from 1/4 inch to XLR or a direct box. It just works. It's a little bit easier like that. And of course, one of the biggest strengths of this drum module is the fact that you can plug in the digital ride and the digital snare. Those two pads are the best in the entire industry, and they only work with this one drum module at this time. The Roland TD30 does not have access to those kinds of digital pads. That's the one leg up this really has. Even if all the other advantages were gone, that would be the one thing that would set this thing apart. Another thing that I've noticed, you know, coming from a TD30 over to a TD50, is that there's just more editing options inside of this. So if we go over here to Basic 1, we can do tuning, muffling, and overtones. Overtones is brand new. That was not inside of the Roland TD30. You can do not only snare strainer, you can do that on a couple of snares inside of the TD30, but you can do that, I believe, on all the snares inside of the TD50, all 5 of them. Like, there's not many snares in here. You can adjust the kind of snare strainer wire that drastically changes the way the snare sounds. And then you can adjust how loud the snare wire is, that snapping sound. So all really impressive stuff. And then one final advantage is that the TD50 lets you adjust the mic width on the snare. The TD30 only lets you do that on the kick drums. Cymbal adjustments are also a really big difference between the Roland TD50 and 30. Unfortunately, they only give you 2 ride cymbals inside of the TD50. That is an absolutely terrible idea. I feel like 5 ride cymbals should have been the bare minimum, but they went with 2. The good news is they give you so many different ways to change the ride cymbal, you can actually make it sound like it's 10 different ride cymbals just from one cymbal. So for example, they let you adjust the size. You can do that on both modules. But with the TD50, you can adjust the thickness of the cymbal. So you could have a 30-inch thin ride or 30-inch heavy ride, or a tiny 7-inch ride that's 5+ thick. You can do whatever you want. If we go over here to basic, now you can adjust the taping of that cymbal. I know that must be just some sort of fancy term for sustain, but they also have a separate sustain control, I believe. So taping the cymbal and sustain must be a subtly different thing. I'm not sure. Go over here to basic 2. Now you can adjust the ping amount, so the stick attack on the cymbal, but you can also adjust the color of that sound. So I don't know, maybe it's like a virtual different kind of stick that you're using. It changes the way it sounds completely. So you can make one cymbal into like 10 different cymbals just by adjusting these handful of parameters. And of course, you can also adjust the mic width of that cymbal as well. Another really big difference is the fact that it's way easier to layer sounds inside of the TD50. You can layer sounds inside of the TD30 if you have a MIDI cable. So just a standard MIDI cable plugging in from the MIDI in to the MIDI out on the back of the drum module. It's kind of dumb to plug the module into itself, but if you do a couple of different setting changes inside of the module, now you can layer sounds by using this trick. There's actually a really good tutorial out there on YouTube. Go check it out. But it's not really meant to do that. You can trick the module into layering sounds, but it's not really meant to do that sort of thing. The TD50 has dedicated controls to make it easy, seamless, and actually get a great result. You can decide when the extra layer comes in. Do you want it mixed the entire time, or do you only want the next sound to come in layered when you're playing at 70% velocity? You can do whatever you want. Way more powerful. You can also import one-shot samples. Unfortunately, you can't import multi-layered samples, so you can't go, 50 layers deep with different snare sounds you found online. You can do that with the Elisa Strike, an $800 module, but you can't do it with a $2,000 plus drum module. That's kind of disappointing. But at least they're finally letting you import one-shot samples. A lot of times, just giving your kick drum a backbone or putting an EDM snare sound layered on your acoustic snare sound that you already have inside of the TD50. Layering sounds and importing samples can change everything. So the possibilities are endless with the TD50, not so much with the Roland TD30. How you can record to a laptop is also different with both of these. These both have a really cool feature. You can record audio over a USB connection. That is something 99% of drum modules just don't let you do. If you plug in a USB cable to your laptop, you're going to be recording MIDI data. Of course, you can do that with the TD50 and the TD30, but you can also record a pure, stereo audio signal without having to go from 1/4 inch to an audio interface and then into your laptop. You can record audio straight over a regular USB cable. That's sweet. But the twist here is that the TD50 can record multi-track USB audio. This just does a left and right thing. I haven't tried this out on the TD50. I have tried it out on the TD30. It's really, really cool. So hopefully I'll be talking about that more with different videos that I have about the TD50 in the future. I gotta say, both of these drum modules are absolutely positively excellent. If you're just gonna use drum software like Superior Drummer 3, I would say the TD30 is more than enough. You don't really need this. You only want to go with the TD50 if you really like the digital ride and snare pad, and if you really want the richer sounds and the ability to customize those sounds a little bit more deeply with the TD50. Just for everyday use, the average guy would probably be better suited with the TD30 because it's $1,000 less and it has so many more sounds. It has the TD20 sounds inside of it and the TD30 sounds. It's got like 4 or 5 times as many sounds as this module right here. But this is the flagship. This has a lot of really nice creature comforts. There's a lot of nice little enhancements that the TD50 does have. I'll be thinking about this more and more. I might actually change my opinion. As of right now, if I had to buy either one of these, I would take the TD50 because it's the newer one, it has some cool features, and you can adjust the sounds a lot. But I can't deny that there's a lot going for the TD30. You wouldn't record this on an album, obviously, the sounds aren't that good. But they're both excellent. That's all I'm trying to say. Go listen to the sounds of both of them and make your decision. I think this one has by far the better cymbal sounds. This one, I think, has the better snare and kick and maybe some better tom sounds. But of course, it's all going to be personal preference. Both of these drum modules are absolutely excellent and they're great as far as triggering, and they have really low latency. I think it's around 3 milliseconds for both of them. I can't say enough good things about both these drum modules. They are excellent. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. I make tons of videos just like this one. And also, click the like button. It really helps out the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in a few.